You are not meant to compete or compare because your specialty, your voice, your background, your expertise, your story are irreplaceable. We don't build confidence by being better. We build confidence by becoming undeniably, uniquely you. Welcome to Grant CEO, the podcast for experienced grant writers ready to stop doing all the work and start leading like CEOs. I'm your host, Deronda Harrison, founder and CEO at June 1st Firm and creator of the 5P Grant CEO framework. Each week, we dive into the shifts in power, position, pull, pricing, and people that will help you build a business that hasn't created another job for you. Ready to step back and trust your team to deliver? I sure hope so. Go from grant writer to grant CEO. Let's get into it. Welcome to Grant CEO. Welcome back. In this episode, I wanted to dive in and talk about the title, You Can't Compare What Doesn't Compete. What often comes up a lot is I hear grant writers. There's a lot of grant writers in my area. There's a lot of grant writers in my geographical location. There's just a lot of grant writers. And then one of the things that I thought about that came up for me was speaking with a coaching client. She said what stood out to her in one of the modules and how she framed it was that you can't compare what doesn't compete. You want to be irrefutable. And then it made me think about our individual fingerprints, positioning yourself like a fingerprint. Each fingerprint on your finger is different. No one in the world across the globe has the same fingerprint. So using your background, your experiences, your own knowledge, identity to position yourself as the expertise, being special in a certain way to deliver grant writing services or your business services to your ideal type of client. So really thinking about you are not meant to compete or compare because your specialty, your voice, your background, your expertise, your story are irreplaceable. We don't build confidence by being better. We build confidence by becoming undeniably, uniquely you. And if you listen to the guest episodes, what came up a lot was the confidence boosting, going through the program and through the framework, putting in place boundaries, just going through the program. And those were not just things that I think about initially or things that we think about initially, but those are game changing for your business. So that confidence comes with knowing I'm one of the only few people that do this thing in the way that I do it. So when I'm positioning that, when I'm talking to potential clients in that way, I'm not coming from a place of desperation or speaking from a place of desperation. This is what I have. This is what I offer. I'm one of the only kind. Very few high quality grant writers as it is. But even when you're within that special thing that you do, you stand out even more, similar to a fingerprint, which is nothing else like it. So I want to tackle some myths that people have unfortunately started to believe in. And that is many grant consultants believe they're competing with everyone. So people believe that competition only exists when you look and sound like everyone else. When you position yourself clearly and deeply, comparison becomes irrelevant. You can't compare what doesn't compete, meaning if your niche is tight, your strengths are specific, your voice is distinct, and your positioning is clear, there is no one to compare you to. So the myth is many grant consultants believe they're competing with everyone when in actuality, competition only exists when you look and sound like everyone else. So I would say if you don't have that specialty, if you have a wide casting net, then you probably are competing with everyone else. But when you position yourself clearly and deeply, comparison becomes irrelevant. Going back to the beginning where I said you can't compare what doesn't compete. If your niche is tight, if your strengths are specific, if your voice is distinct and your positioning is clear, there's no one to compare you to. Just think about your business. It's not a carbon copy. It's a fingerprint. No two are the same, not even my own fingerprints or your own fingerprints from each finger. None of them are even identical. The fingerprints for any person across the globe are identical. So really think about positioning. That's one of the 5 P's of the Great CEO framework. Positioning comes up a lot. And why it's so important is because it creates clarity for you and your clients. Clients are looking for someone who knows what they're doing. They can get them to the grant wins and they want to get there fast. Whether they are, established nonprofit and writing grants for years, they bring a grant writer onto their team, a consultant. They want to get those results fast. So think about that from a positioning point of view. Positioning reduces doubt and insecurity for not only you, but for your clients as well. Positioning eliminates the should I and what if they're doing it better thoughts, like even comparing yourself to other grant writers, grant professionals, comparing yourself to other grant writers and grant professionals. You get to eliminate that thought completely. When you know who you are, when you know who you serve, and when you know what you do best, you stop competing and you start leading. You're not trying to be the best grant writer. You're trying to be the best choice for your people. So it's important to know who your people are. It's important to know who you are and your specialty and how you serve them. So within my firm, June First Firm, we specialize in working with housing organizations. And housing organizations, they have the emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, with a number of wraparound supports with job training, job education, and mental health resources, behavioral health programming, financial resources, support to get people access to mainstream benefits within the city, county government, whether that's SNAP benefits, and a number of different things. So the housing support is just a piece of it. But because I've worked with so many agencies that provide the housing support, that a lot of them provide that wraparound support. So very familiar with organizations and funders that provide resources and support for like your job training, workforce development, mental health resources as well. So even though like housing is my niche, that's how I frame it, I still write for many different types of programs. And I do have clients outside of my niche. Like I have an organization and client who provides services for people who identify with the intellectual developmental disabilities. So I still get clients outside of my niche. And if it makes sense, we work together. But I'm known for working with, and what's in all of my communications on my website, my LinkedIn, is housing organizations. So think about that when you're framing and thinking about your positioning. You want to think about what it means to be irrefutable. Irrefutable simply means unquestionable, undeniable, unmatched. You want it to be a no-brainer, very simple for a potential client to want to work with you. You become irrefutable when your niche is deep and specific. It's very clear. It's easy to say who you work for or who your ideal client is. You'll hear things around like community development and community-based organizations, like even though they're obvious, but they can be ambiguous. Even advocacy, movement building can be ambiguous. So you want to just be very clear and specific on who you're working for and the type of organizations. You want to make sure your messaging is aligned and clear, making sure that your results are clear. I've noticed over a period of time working within my framework, which doesn't have a fancy name, it's just called the Signature Retainer Framework Model. Clients after 12 months are bringing in multi-six figures for their organization. Some clients are even doing that in less than 6 months. So I always say double your investment at minimum in 12 months. Sometimes it's even sooner than that. But on my discovery calls, I just reassure nonprofits who are so budget conscious that within 12 months, you're going to double what you've paid out. And sometimes it happens even sooner than that. So, you just want to give them that reassurance that they're not wasting their money. Quick break for something important. If you're listening to this, you've already done the hardest part. You've built your grant writing business. You've landed clients. You secured grants. You maybe even hit those 10K, 15K months everyone talks about. But the truth, it doesn't feel the way you thought it would. You expected more time, more profit, more balance, and instead, you're working more than ever. You're juggling everything and wondering what actually needs to change. Here's the answer. What got you here won't get you into the Grant CEO seat. So if you're asking yourself, where do I start? I've got your next step. Go to grantceo.com and take my Grant CEO assessment. This isn't one of those cute personality quizzes. This is a diagnostic tool I created to assess your grant writing business across the 5 Ps that every grant writer needs to thrive. You'll walk away knowing exactly where you stand, where the gaps are, and what to focus on next to go from overworked grant writer to a confident, profitable grant CEO. So head to grantceo.com, answer the questions, get your report, and start building the sustainable business you deserve. Links in the show notes for more information. Now back to the episode. You want to make sure that your expertise is visible. I send out weekly emails to nonprofits around specifically housing and some even like youth development, mental health programming, what it looks like when an organization is ready to purchase a building, how they can leverage their current like grants and other funding streams to do those type of things. So I have a communication channel, if you will, sending out weekly newsletters around that. So just making sure my expertise is visible and always communicating to potential clients. And you just want to make sure your story, your services are built around your strengths. So always leaning into that. I worked for a leading housing healthcare provider in DC for a while, and I really leaned into that. I was basically thrown into the deep end. They were at the time, I think they were about a $15 million organization, which was very big at the time. They're probably $100 million now, but at that time they were $15 million. They got a number of federal funds, and they were a FHQC, which is a federally, or FQHC. They were a federally qualified health center. So they were FQHC. So I leaned into that a lot, knowing how to work for these healthcare programs, knowing how to work for these housing organizations, knowing those funders, doing that for so long. I knew those funders like the back of my hand. That's what showed up a lot of times in my marketing and communication. So that's what those type of nonprofits came to me. We say you have a relationship with these funders, or you've secured funding with these organizations, with these type of funders, and they came to me for that. So really building your services around your strengths. And I apply for numerous clients in that DC, DMV market area. No one can argue with who you are or what you bring to the table because it speaks for itself. That's my experience. That's what I've leveraged. Again, I've forgotten things that I've written for and programs that I've written for, but I've really doubled down on the housing piece, which has a healthcare component to it a lot of times. One of my housing clients, they have a medical clinic on site. So that has a healthcare component because you start talking about those social determinants of health, how housing affects your healthcare or lack of housing affects your healthcare. So that a lot of times can combine and work. So really leveraging your strengths because that cannot be argued when you have that expertise. Remember, your fingerprint unlocks the phone. A lot of times people use that for their access to their phone. Not because your fingerprint is better than someone else's, but because it is unique and it fits its purpose. That's what I want to keep in the forefront of your mind within the industry. So just claim your niche, your specialty with confidence. Not being broad, so using the words or frame, or not using words or statements that are broad or vague or ambiguous, like community-based programming or things like that. You want to be very specific enough that your name becomes the answer for the thing. I have people, even other grant writers, who send me housing opportunities because they know this is my niche. They know this is what I do. Like, I saw this and I thought about you. So that specificity is really powerful. Even other consultants have sent me clients that may not be grant writers, but they know that Deronda does this thing. Deronda specializes in housing. She even specializes in federal grants. So they know me for that thing. And it's easy to make referrals. It helps you with selling too. Like you're not selling your skills, you're selling your signature value, your signature offer, you're selling your specialty. What is the thing only you do in the way that you do it? So thinking through that and what your ideal client, understanding and knowing your ideal client and what they want for you, what they want from you is important as well. Speak from your zone of genius. Speak from your zone of genius. You attract ideal clients when you speak confidently about what you know, what you do. You do that deeply. It is a important thing, or what really stands out is when you come to these discovery calls with confidence. You don't look like you're desperate for this client, because clients can sniff that out. And when you show up confidently, you know what you're talking about, you know your stuff, they want to work with you. It's a no-brainer for them to sign up and work with you. You're not coming from a place of desperation. So instead of asking, who else does what I do, I guess I should say, instead of asking, who else does what I do, ask, who do I become when I stop trying to sound like everyone else, or stop trying to cast a wide net and just work with, I work with whomever, or I work with all types of organizations, or I work with people that want to pay me this way hourly, and I work with people who want to pay me on a retainer. Instead of asking who else does what I do, you really want to frame that into, who do I become when I stop trying to sound like and be like everyone else? And you may say, well, that's not what I'm doing. But if you are broadly serving in a way, that is essentially what it boils down to. So this, again, thinking about your positioning from 1 to 5 P's is your positioning shows up in how you talk. It shows up in how you show up on social media, how you're posting on LinkedIn. It shows up on your website. If it's not really clear what services you're offering, I've gone on other grant writers' websites. I know you're a grant writer, but I'm not sure how the services are being delivered, in what manner, what are you offering. Your positioning improves that. So you want to think about your positioning. It shows up also in your pricing. It shows up in what you are able to offer and how you present yourself. So just think about, as we wrap up this episode, what is the thing about you that cannot be duplicated? This is your fingerprint moment. We'll close with this. What is the thing about you that cannot be duplicated? What part of your story is a gift, not an obstacle? What do clients come to you specifically for? And what are you known for when you're not in the room? Like for me, a lot of times, even before I even niche deeper into housing, into Rhonda federal grants, it's still known for that. What are you known for when you're not in the room? Someone mentions your name, the grant writer that does this. What would your business look like if you stop comparing yourself to people you don't even compete with? Meaning you have no competition. So what would that look like for you? This is the power of your fingerprint positioning. Just remember, you don't have to compete because you're in a lane of your own. Your niche makes you irrefutable. Your fingerprint is your identity, is your journey, is your expertise. It's your positioning. So really think through these things. Take notes. Think about your expertise. If you feel like you have a niche, what is that niche? Share with me. I would love to hear more about it. And you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, send me a message. I'd love to learn more about you and what you have to offer. So thanks so much for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Grant CEO. Please take a moment to write down your Grant CEO move of the week. One action that will move your business forward in either power, position, pull, pricing, or people. And if what you desire is mentorship and support, visit our website at grantceo.com. There you can also learn more about the program. Keep leading, keep growing, and remember, your expertise deserves to be valued. I'll see you in the next episode.